here.
Hey there folks, Rel here. Today we'll be taking a look at the NS-11C, which is the common pool carbine from Nanite Systems. We'll break down its statistics, give you the recommended attachment options, and follow up with some weapon-specific strategy and what kinds of players and situation the weapon is suited for. Being a carbine, the NS-11C is available to both your engineer and your light assault classes. Unlocking the weapon once will allow you to equip it on either class. The NS-11C will cost you 1,000 certs or 700 station cash to unlock, and if you buy the weapon with station cash, it will be available across your entire account instead of just your single character. Throughout this video, I'm using the NS-11C Platinum, which is just a reward that you get for recruiting people to the game. There's a link in the description below if you'd like more information about the process, but the stats are exactly the same. The NS-11C deals 143 damage up to 10 meters and drops off to 112 at 70 meters. This means that you're looking at a 7-shot kill range up to 10 meters, an 8-shot kill range up to about 40 meters, and a 9-shot kill range beyond the 40 meter mark. The weapon also has access to both soft point ammo and high velocity ammo, and equipping either one of these will shift these numbers a little bit. Soft point ammo will currently add 5 meters to your maximum damage range, so your 7-shot kill range, whereas high velocity ammo is going to give you around 5 meters to your 8-shot kill range. High velocity ammo is also slated for a buff here in the near future, so you can expect to gain a little bit more than 5 meters to your mid-range kill potential. The rate of fire of the NS-11C is mediocre at 652 rounds per minute, or about 10.87 shots per second, and this is the exact same rate of fire as the T5 AMC, and the same rate of fire as the Solstice SF. It's very middle of the road, and it's really the main reason why the weapon is such a huge turnoff to many players. The NS-11C also has a very low projectile velocity of 450 meters per second. The only two carbines with a lower projectile velocity than the NS-11C are the Jaguar and the Serpent, and both of those weapons are specifically made to deal with close quarter situations where a low projectile velocity just doesn't matter. So what's strange is that the NS-11C is not a close quarters weapon, but is, for whatever reason, subjected to the same terrible bullet velocity. The NS-11C, like every other Nanite Systems primary, tends to sacrifice in the damage department in hopes that you can use accuracy to overcome that longer time to kill, but the NS-11C seems to go out of its way to make things a little bit more difficult. The NS-11C has 35 rounds in the magazine and 175 in reserve, so that's 5 rounds more than most carbines except those within the TR's arsenal. It has a reload speed of 1.85 seconds short and 2.3 seconds long, and this is a very quick reload speed and falls in line with most Vanu Sovereignty carbines and some of the long-range carbine variants, which tend to also have a very short reload speed. Like every other Nanite Systems primary, you also get 0.75 times movement speed multiplier while aiming down sights, and that's opposed to the standard 0.5 times movement speed multiplier that most weapons have. This is a helpful addition to the carbine as you're going to find yourself aiming down sights the vast majority of the time. The last trait of the NS-11C that we should talk about is its accuracy. Like most Nanite Systems weaponry, it has a recoil pattern that goes up and to the left. If you have problems compensating for left pull recoil, then it may take some getting used to, but honestly, the recoil is very low on this weapon, so it won't be difficult to deal with. In fact, the NS-11C technically has the lowest vertical recoil of any carbine in the game, but it also has some variance with its recoil angle, which means that it doesn't recoil in the same exact direction every single time. It does, however, also have decently low first shot recoil. It's not quite as good as the T5 AMCs, but it's still going to allow you to start with a headshot and stay dialed in on the head area, opposed to other weapons that will force you to start at the neck or the chest, and then you let the weapon kick up into the head if you want the same effect. Probably the most important aspect of the NS-11C's accuracy is that it actually has a smaller moving cone of fire than most weapons. Basically, your burst weapons have the smallest moving ADS cone of fire, then the NS-11C, Solstice, and Solstice SF are up on the next tier. While the difference in regards to bloom is only about a single shot, your NS-11C, especially coupled with the low vertical recoil that we talked about, is going to have a very accurate initial burst. So that said, when you put the pieces together, the weapon is accurate. It's very accurate. It doesn't quite stand out in a class of its own, as there are some definite side grades, but it certainly does the job for those precision players who go for headshots exclusively. That said, the NS-11C, like most NS weaponry, has a wide selection of attachments. It has access to scopes 1x through 4x, including the 2x reflex and Nightvision scopes. It has a compensator, flash suppressor, standard suppressor, forward grip, laser sight, flashlight, and both soft point and high velocity ammo. When it comes to setups for the weapon, I highly suggest going with the Nightvision scope. Since you need to really play into the weapon's accuracy, Nightvision is a big deal, not only for the quicker target recognition, but also because the crosshairs are dead accurate, whereas most of the other sights are actually misaligned a little bit. Where you see the dot in your reflex sight is not quite the center of the screen and is not where your bullet is going to go. So again, with an emphasis on accuracy, you want to go with the Nightvision scope. When having to choose between barrel attachments, I would personally go with the Compensator every time. Even though the recoil is already very low, again, you want to emphasize the accuracy, and the Compensator will help you do just that. Also, I would not recommend running a flash suppressor on this weapon. When it comes to dealing with targets at range, your conafire is your biggest enemy, not the weapon's recoil. So the flash suppressor really doesn't do you any favors. And I also can't recommend the standard suppressor on the weapon either. If you're stomping a tower and you're trying to Araxium the weapon, then move on to something else, then yeah, go ahead, suppress the weapon, but at ranges where the suppressor is actually going to help you, you're just better off using a different weapon anyway. But if you're trying to fight over mid-range where the weapon is really geared toward, you already have poor bullet velocity, and the suppressor makes not only the travel time, but also the bullet drop noticeably worse. So again, I wouldn't recommend a suppressor on this weapon. For rail attachment options, the forward grip and the laser sight are both good. The forward grip is going to help you at range, but if you feel confident with where your shots are actually landing, then go for the laser sight to help supplement your close quarters kill potential. It's the conafire and not the recoil that does harm to this weapon's damage output, so this is really a big preference thing regardless. When talking about ammo types, there are very few occasions that I actually recommend high velocity ammo. This is one of those occasions. The weapon's vertical recoil is already so low that increasing the damage range and the bullet velocity will be worth the slight increase that you're going to get. Just make sure that you're coupling high velocity ammo with a compensator. Soft point ammo is also a good and very safe choice on this weapon. The bullet velocity decrease from soft point ammo is not very noticeable to most players, and the extra 5 meters to your 7-shot kill range will also give you about 2 extra meters to your 8-shot kill range as well. So to sum all that up again, I'd basically say to just use the reflex sights at your own risk, stay away from the flash suppressor, and stay away from the standard suppressor. To jump into some weapon-specific strategy, the first and probably most important tip is to just go for the head. Basically, at all and any ranges, if you know how to land headshots, do it. I have kind of a hard time landing consistent headshots, so that's why you don't see a lot of it in this footage. So my gameplay is honestly very subpar compared to somebody who can land those consistent headshots, so if you can, that's what you want. The second part of the equation is to just stay within about 40 meters, but no closer than 20. Now, the weapon is effective both beyond and before this, but keeping about 20 meters on your enemy will help keep them from flattening you in a toe-to-toe matchup. And also, when you're within that 40 meters, you're going to get that nice 8-shot kill range, which is 4 headshots if you can manage it. Ultimately though, you are going to find yourself in situations where you're both closer and further away from the enemy than is ideal, so you really want to limit your exposure by working your cover. Aiming down sights and then cutting a corner slowly, rounding a corner slowly, is the best way to do this, and the 0.75 times movement speed multiplier is going to make it easier for you to do that. Lastly, I almost view this weapon as more of a support tool than anything else, and that's basically due to its low rate of fire. I wouldn't suggest being on the front lines here or being the main focus of your enemy's anger. So go in with a crowd, or at the very least flank and use your crowd as a distraction. Before we end the episode though, I'd like to give you a few reasons not to buy this weapon. Now the first is, if you're not a good shooter. For players who cannot aim well, you really want something with a higher rate of fire or higher damage, so basically the starting carbines are a good thing to stick with until you learn how to shoot better. To use the NS-11C effectively, you really have to overcome its poor damage output through the use of accuracy, so if you can't, then there's really no reason for you to pick it up. The second reason not to purchase this weapon would be if you own either the T5 AMC or the Solstice SF. Both of those weapons serve the same role and they have very similar characteristics, and are even better in some ways. The T5 AMC, in my opinion, is hands down superior to the NS-11C due to the more consistent recoil pattern, the advanced forward grip, the extremely high bullet velocity. I mean, there are some considerations when it comes to reload speed and even the cone of fire to a certain degree, but the weapon is just so good that it would be a very minimal playstyle shift if you were to also purchase the NS-11C. Overall though, I do think that the weapon is good. It's solid accuracy, very versatile. There's a few quirks here and there, but it's still a powerhouse for those players who can use it well. I don't think that it quite matches up to the NS-11A or the NS-15M in terms of relative effectiveness. I do still think that it needs some tweaking here and there to make it stand out a little bit more, but again, it is a very good weapon. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and do let me know if you own the NS-11C. How do you feel it performs? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you feel like it's too much of a side grade to something else that you're currently using? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks very much, folks. We're all signing off.